Hello and welcome to LEA 497. This is a little tip for our week 1 assignment which carries through to our week 5 assignment in the course. So the written assignment for both the first unit, the third unit, and the fifth unit, they all relate to each other and they all build toward what is called the final capstone project, which you'll see is a pretty lengthy paper, probably one of the longest ones you've written here in your degree at Arizona Global. So it is important to understand the overall project at the end to understand how we build up toward it. And actually the work that you do in weeks 1 and 3 will help you greatly in completing the final project. So the project itself is divided up into 4 elements, and they don't necessarily all flow well together, and it's okay. You just have to cover each of these 4 elements. Now, we'll cover each of them, but you'll see the first is a cover letter and resume of 2 to 3 pages. Then you'll address a code of conduct of 1 to 2 pages. A community development plan is the biggest part of the paper. You see it 6 to 8 pages. And finally, a 1 to 2 page technology proposal before you conclude with your reference list. So the first part is simply a cover letter and resume for a potential job or promotion that you are seeking. Perhaps you are, perhaps you aren't. Use your imagination a bit in this one. You might have a specific job in mind that you're seeking or a promotion in mind. And if you don't, again, just use your imagination a bit. This is going to be 2 to 3 pages, and it's simply a cover letter you would write to that potential employer or current employer, followed by a copy of your resume. And there is assistance with these resources available at Arizona Global. Second part is a code of conduct, and you'll reflect back to the CJ 316 Ethics and Law Enforcement course that you likely took, and you wrote a final paper there that you can draw upon that talked about your own moral beliefs and how this fits in law enforcement too. So essentially you're going to create a code of conduct of your own, and it's a combination likely of research out there about codes of conduct along with your own thoughts, and that will kind of lead to a code of conduct that you will write out. And you will also say in this section how this code promotes both good leadership and integrity in police officers. Now again, the biggest part of your paper is the community development plan, and you'll spend a lot of time in this week 1 paper and in the week 3 paper writing about the CDP. So essentially you are placed in the position of a leader in a police department, and you're in the research division. You've been asked to write an analysis of policing and what it will look like 10 years into the future and how to prepare for that. So this is what this is. And you're going to base your findings upon peer-reviewed research, strong research, and there's actually an instructional PDF that you'll refer to in the instructions in the week 5 assignment. So you can download that PDF and take a look at it. And you'll see that there are 4 elements to the community development plan, along with several questions under each element that you are to answer. So it's pretty guided. There's actually a structure that you're to follow into answering each of these elements. And those elements are personnel, crime and demographics, community policing and problem solving, and leadership. And under each of those elements on that PDF, you're going to find a series of questions. So again, as you answer the questions, the paper writes itself, so to speak, because you're just hitting each of those topics. Again, you're going to have to find some research and peer-reviewed research in order to support your positions on those topics. Again, thinking about what is needed in policing 10 years into the future in personnel. What about crime and demographics? What is needing 10 years in the future about community policing and leadership? And so keep that in mind as you answer these different questions, again listed on the PDF in the week 5 written assignment instructions about the Capstone final project. The final part of the paper, prior to your reference page, is a technology proposal. And this simply you find 3 different types of technology that can be useful to law enforcement as it moves into the future. So it relates a little bit to your community development plan. part of that plan might be what kind of technology will we use. And so this is just 1 to 2 pages. You can think about things as records management systems or cameras or uh, things used for use of force like tasers. I mean, there's all sorts of different routes you can take with this because technology is certainly a big part of law enforcement today and in the future. So how does this relate to week 1? What are we doing in this first week? Well, it simply asks you to select one of the topics from the community development plan and start to write about it. And so what I would do is I would select one of the 4 categories. Again, personnel, crime and demographics, community policing and problem solving, and leadership. Refer to that PDF, look at those questions, and then start to write answers to those questions in an essay format. Keep in mind this is not a quiz where you just answer the questions in a quiz-like format. It's going to be a paper. So you're presenting this to someone about policing in the future. So don't just write questions and answers, write an essay. And just select one of those. You might pick personnel and write 2 to 3 pages about personnel. And back it up with some research. You can see 5 sources are required, including 2 that are from the Arizona Global Library, and make sure you indicate that they're from the library. The reason why that's required is to kind of make you use these resources that tend to offer more peer-reviewed sources and journal articles with them. And you might even branch into 2 different topics, and that's fine. So I would say at least 1. You might branch into 2 in order to get to 2 to 3 pages and 5 sources. And what this will end up being is a portion of your final paper. You're definitely not writing the entire community development plan, but you're writing a good portion of it. So this will help you build toward week 5. And in week 3, you're going to find we're going to continue with this, and we're going to write more of the community development plan, and we're going to get into the technology proposal. So this all builds into week 5 to make your workload kind of spread out a little bit and make it easier on you. And quite frankly, the community development plan is the biggest part of it. The cover letter, the code of conduct, those are important elements, but this is the biggest part. So we spent a lot of time on this particular portion. So final thoughts about this: make sure to use peer-reviewed sources, journal articles, academic journals. Again, the Arizona Global Library is the best place to find those. Make sure to stay on topic. Probably one of the most frequent errors I see with the final capstone project and the community development plan is people tend to stray. They tend to get off the topics of personnel, crime and demographics, those things that are outlined for you. So make sure to stay on those. Again, heavily use that library. And please let me know if you have any questions. Shoot me an email. That's what I'm here for, and I'll try to help you out. Thanks, and I look forward to reading your versions.